The story begins in a calm countryside, where our ugly MC Lloyd Belladonna is chasing after a fluffy bunny, all excited like kids usually are, but instead of cuddles, the thing flips a switch, turns aggressive to our weakling main character, who basically has nothing in him to be main character, but never mind. The tiny-looking rabbit absolutely wrecks him, and to make it worse, the bunny has the audacity to laugh at him before hopping away. I mean, this is some serious mockery, and this leaves Lloyd on the ground, bruised and embarrassed. Just then, his older brother Shoma shows up. Lloyd lights up instantly, because his brother's finally back from a long trip. They head back home together, and Shoma hands him a book as a gift, which makes Lloyd's whole face glow like he got an OnlyFans subscription for free. Time flies, and eventually Lloyd decides it's time to kill the boy, and let the man be born, and basically leave his village to chase his dream of becoming a soldier in the royal capital. After a long trek, he ends up at a strange-looking house, where a woman with witch vibes is hanging around. Lloyd, being his usual timid self, just stands there watching until she casually introduces herself as Marie. With a smirk, she explains that witches basically run a wish-granting business, because bills don't pay themselves. She then asks Lloyd what he's after. Polite as always, he introduces himself and explains that he's there because he wants to join the army. At first, Marie rolls her eyes like he's wasting her time, but her irritation turns to shock when she learns he's from Kunlun village, a place famous for producing absurdly powerful warriors. The surprise doubles when she finds out Lloyd was sent to her by none other than Alka, Kunlun's chief, and her terrifying teacher. And right on cue, Alka pops up out of a crystal ball, cheerful as ever, while Marie bows nervously like a kid caught cheating on homework. When Marie tries to ask questions, Alka just trolls her, reminding her she's not really there to answer anything. That's when Marie finally loses it. Once Alka vanishes, Marie hurls the crystal ball into a closet while muttering curses about her master. Lloyd, being the overly nice kid, apologizes, even though it's clearly not his fault. Feeling bad for him, Marie agrees to take care of him until the entrance exam. Over time, Marie realizes Lloyd isn't just polite. He's ridiculously kind too. Later, she discovers that the crystal ball in her house is actually a teleportation gate, which leaves her jaw on the floor. Alka reappears just to mess with her again, even tossing a curse her way when Marie calls her Lolly Grandma. Marie's patience is fried, but there's not much she can do besides scream into the void. The next morning, Marie wakes up to the smell of breakfast. To her surprise, Lloyd has cooked for her, though he nervously insists it's nothing special. She's touched by the effort and thanks him. While they eat, she brings up the army exam, warning him especially about the combat test. Lloyd, in his shy way, admits stamina isn't his best trait, but then he casually mentions he ran all the way from Kunlun to the capital in just 6 days, leaving Marie one step from passing out. For him it's normal, but to her it screams monster in disguise. As their chat goes on, Lloyd talks about giant animals he met on the way, convinced they're monsters trying to take over the world. Marie nearly chokes, explaining that's more of a demon lord thing. Then, out of nowhere, she realizes her face looks weird, like it's stuck on a filter. Lloyd calmly shows her how to cancel it by drawing a rune, something she had spent 3 painful years learning, and he just does it like it's doodling on a napkin. That's when it finally sinks in. This polite, humble kid is packing skills that no ordinary human should ever have. Later, Lloyd goes into the bustling city of Azami, where rumors spread that monsters have appeared nearby. Remembering Marie's request, he sets out to help. Meanwhile, a girl named Selin Hemine, often called the Cursed Belt Princess, bumps into a nobleman who mocks her decision to join the army. Ignoring him, she walks into a dark alley where a giant mantis suddenly attacks. Though Selin tries to fight back bravely, she is overpowered and thrown against the wall. At the last second, Lloyd appears, swiftly defeating the monster without breaking a sweat. He gently helps Selin up, using a magical tissue to clean her face. Ashamed of her cursed appearance, yet deeply touched by his kindness, Selin feels her heart race and realizes she has fallen in love with him. That evening, Selin looks at her reflection in the mirror and remembers Lloyd's sweet smile, blushing uncontrollably. Though cursed to wear a belt around her head, she suddenly discovers that the curse has been lifted, and she becomes convinced that Lloyd is the one who freed her. Meanwhile, Lloyd happily returns to Marie, having completed her errand, and even uses his leftover money to buy her a small souvenir. A few days later, the day of the military entrance exam arrives. Dozens of candidates gather, hoping to prove their strength. Observers like Murthafan, a senior officer, watch with interest, while the mercenary Riho Flavin notices the strange boy beside her and instantly senses incredible power. She finds Lloyd's innocent nature charming, but before she can speak more with him, Selin suddenly slams her against the wall, glaring with jealousy because she cannot bear to see Lloyd talking to another girl. Riho barely manages to keep calm, as she realizes that the blonde girl is dangerously obsessed with him. When the combat test begins, each candidate demonstrates their power on a magical dummy. Murthafan, too, notices Lloyd, but is called away before he can see Lloyd's performance. Marie, on the other hand, feels confident that Lloyd will pass because she knows he is from the legendary Kunlun village. However, when the results are announced in the evening, Lloyd looks at the list and is stunned to find that his name is nowhere to be found. Once the entrance exam wraps up, the guidance session kicks off for the fresh recruits. Riho and Selin start looking around, both wondering why Lloyd is missing. Nobody has spotted him since the test, and even Murthafan, the officer in charge, looks clueless. He doesn't even realize Lloyd supposedly failed. Meanwhile, Celine is spiraling, nearly hysterical, because in her head the army is not worth joining if Lloyd isn't there. While she's falling apart, Colonel Cholene lays down the big announcement. Anyone who manages to find Princess Maria gets a wish granted. The recruits buzz with excitement, but outside, Lloyd is just wandering around, sulking. He thinks he bombed both the combat and written tests, and the kid's walking like someone who lost his lunch money. Then, of course, a monster shows up out of nowhere. Lloyd, still in his gloomy mood, swats it away with a single lazy punch. The irony? He still doesn't realize how ridiculously strong he actually is. Not long after, Lloyd hears about a cafeteria looking for part-timers. Hoping to make some cash, he strolls in, only to be mistaken for a monster by the owner, Chrome. The man can practically feel the dangerous aura rolling off him. Lloyd quickly insists he's not looking for trouble, but Chrome's brain goes straight to assassin mode. Lloyd, all smiles, politely says he can cook and clean, which Chrome interprets as code for, I kill people quietly. So, naturally, Chrome declares he's ready for a fight, while Lloyd just grins and says he wants to make a simple risotto. Curiosity wins, and Chrome watches him cook. The guy can't believe this so-called exam failure moves around the kitchen like a pro. Lloyd casually explains he's only job hunting because he wants to retake the exam next year, which makes Chrome start doubting whether he really failed at all. Meanwhile, inside the academy, Cholene tears into Mirthafan and forces him to reveal what Lloyd actually wrote. To her horror, and low-key embarrassment, she finds out he answered everything in ancient runes, a language nobody there could even read. So he wasn't wrong, just way too advanced for the poor examiners. Back at the cafe, Lloyd serves Chrome a plate of tomato risotto. Suspicious as ever, Chrome is convinced it's poisoned, but he takes a bite anyway, bracing for death. Instead, his taste buds light up, and he's floored by how good it is.
That was so yummy!
In the end, Chrome drops the paranoia and hires Lloyd on the spot as his new part-timer. That evening, Lloyd admits to Marie that he failed the entrance exam. Hearing this, Alka dramatically threatens to destroy the entire kingdom of Azami in her students' defense. Shocked, Lloyd begs her not to do anything reckless, promising that he will simply retake the exam next year. When Alka realizes that he wants to stay with Marie in the meantime, she agrees and grants him permission. Lloyd thanks her sincerely, while Marie stands frozen in disbelief that her master has just casually allowed this arrangement. The discussion then turns serious when Marie reveals a growing political problem inside Azami. She asks her master to help solve it with her immense power, but Alka refuses, explaining that Kunlun villagers only intervene to protect humanity from demon lords or catastrophic disasters. They cannot interfere in ordinary human conflicts. Marie, however, knows that the kingdom is being manipulated, and she is deeply frustrated that she cannot take direct action. This is exactly why she had studied disenchant runes in the past, so she could find other ways to protect people. Alka understands her students' feelings, but firmly forbids her from involving Lloyd in the conflict. Instead, she orders Marie to focus on helping him enter the academy. After saying her piece, Alka returns to the village, leaving Marie cursing her once again.
Moderate bad luck.
To vent her anger, Marie throws the teleportation crystal ball into a well. The following day, Riho tells Mirthafan that Silen is still trying to find Lloyd. At the same time, Mirthafan notices that the cafeteria is unusually busy, and when the food is served, both Riho and Mirthafan are stunned by the delicious taste. Mirthafan learns that it is the new workers cooking, and when Lloyd suddenly appears, he is shocked to discover that the country boy who failed the exam is actually behind the meals. Later, Lloyd takes out the trash and notices a giant monster gathering around it and casually throws it away. On his way back, he sees Marie slipping into an alley and assumes she is just going shopping. Then he notices some people running, mentioning about monsters appearing in a certain area. Soon the scene shifts to Selin, who is being mocked by the arrogant noble Alan, who challenges her to a duel. Selin is nearly struck down, but is suddenly saved by her cursed belts, which shield her from harm and allow her to defeat Alan. She believes it is Lloyd's blessing that protected her, while the other students are left confused. When Lloyd appears on the scene, Silen's heart leaps with joy, but he only looks confused, not understanding what is happening. Soon, more people arrive, and Mirthafan decides to punish Alan, mistakenly thinking Lloyd is just an ordinary citizen caught in the middle. But when Choline discovers that Lloyd is actually the user of ancient runes, she demands that Alan duel him. Riho grows worried for Lloyd's safety, while Mirthafan casually remarks that Lloyd should survive as long as he does not get punched in the face. As the duel begins, Lloyd prepares to fight seriously, though everyone still underestimates his power. Just as he is about to strike Alan with all his strength, Marie suddenly intervenes, summoning a massive tornado. She whisks Lloyd away from the battlefield, leaving the others stunned and whispering in confusion about what just happened. After being whisked away by the sudden tornado, Lloyd quickly realizes that it was Marie who caused it. Surprised but grateful, he understands that she has just saved him from unnecessary trouble. With his usual politeness, he apologizes for being a burden. Not long after, Chrome approaches Marie. As he sends Lloyd back inside the cafeteria, he tells her he has come to discuss something serious. Chrome explains that he has noticed strange changes in the behavior of the king, and he wants to know why. Marie admits that there is indeed a plot brewing in the shadows. She further explains that someone is manipulating the king, and will likely push him into declaring war against the Jew Empire during the upcoming festival. Although she does not yet know the identity of the mastermind, she admits she needs Chrome's help to stop the crisis before it becomes a war. That evening, Mirthafan reviews the training regimen of the recruits once again, and Colonel Cholene teases him for always working so seriously. Murthafan explains grimly that his hometown was burned to ashes by soldiers from the Jew Empire, and therefore he cannot tolerate even the possibility of such a tragedy happening again. The next morning, Selene grows restless because she cannot find Lloyd anywhere. Riho tells her to focus on finding Princess Maria, and deciding to ask the famous witch Marie for help, they head to her house, and to their surprise, it is Lloyd himself who opens the door. There, Riho then realizes that Lloyd is indeed the one who freed Selene from her cursed belt. Moments later, Marie herself appears, and is startled to see unexpected guests in her home. She lets her guard down. Moreover, Selene's piercing gaze makes her nervous. Rio then explains that they are searching for a missing person and shows Marie a picture of Princess Maria. Marie begins acting strangely, because in truth she is the missing Princess Maria of Azami, and she is desperate to keep her identity hidden. Selene presses her with more questions, and suddenly Marie bursts into tears, overwhelmed by the situation. Selene assures her that she only wants the truth, and Marie hesitates, preparing to reveal everything. But when Selene suddenly asks whether Marie is actually Lloyd's wife, Marie is stunned while Rio gasps in disbelief. The two girls quickly realize that Marie is the missing princess. They explain that they were searching for her because finding Princess Maria could grant Lloyd the chance to enter the academy. Hearing this, Marie admits the danger within the kingdom, but offers to exchange information instead of revealing her secret outright. At that moment, Lloyd walks back into the room and says that he already knows Marie's true identity. However, his conclusion is hilariously wrong.
Hero! You're the savior of this kingdom! Please, miss, it's no use trying to hide it. Who you were the moment you rescued me from that fight.
He believes she is a secret hero of justice who fights in the shadows to protect the kingdom from demon lords. Marie is left speechless, but Lloyd, with utmost sincerity, asks her for permission to support her in battle so that he too can help defend the kingdom. Marie recalls Alka's strict warning not to involve Lloyd in conflicts and decides to lie. She introduces herself as the famous savior of Azami, but insists that Lloyd is far too weak to join her. Although she knows he is unimaginably strong, she cannot bear the thought of him being hurt. Lloyd takes her words literally, grows depressed, and apologizes for asking too much.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
After he leaves, Marie explains the truth to Riho and Selene. She reveals her true identity as the princess and confesses that Lloyd is from Kunlun village, whose people are forbidden from interfering in human conflicts. This is why she must hide her identity and why Lloyd cannot be drawn into the battle. Riho accepts her reasoning, and Selene reluctantly agrees. Meanwhile, Lloyd lies sadly in bed, convinced he truly is too weak, unaware that he is actually the strongest of them all. Marie, on the other hand, quietly prays that her risky plan will work so that she can free her father from the mysterious culprit's control. Suddenly, Alka appears out of nowhere, overhearing everything. Furious that Marie threw her teleportation crystal ball into a well, Alka threatens to cast another curse on her mischievous student. In the days that follow, Riho and Selene gather information about the king and the man who gave orders to find Princess Maria. Soon, the festival begins. Lloyd is still downhearted, and Alka notices his gloomy mood. Secretly delighted, she thinks this is the perfect chance to make him fall in love with her. With a mischievous grin, she buys him a chocolate banana, planning to tease him in her usual way. However, before she can enjoy her game, a group of monsters suddenly attacks the townspeople. Panic spreads through the festival grounds. Meanwhile, at the royal castle, Chrome requests permission to serve again as a royal guard, but Murthafan replies on the king's behalf. Chrome insists that he has already met Princess Maria and has learned information about the culprit. To everyone's shock, suspicion suddenly falls on Murthafan, and he is accused of being the traitor. Murthafan then makes a shocking confession. His hatred for the Jew Empire drives his every action, and he intended to provoke war against them as revenge for his destroyed hometown. Just as everyone processes his words, Marie and the other girls appear, and Marie finally reveals her true identity as Princess Maria. Suddenly, King Azami himself speaks. He looks under control of someone, and Murthafan assumes that the king is under his control. However, the truth is far darker. The king calmly declares that he was the one who burned Murthafan's village in the first place. He explains that it was necessary to break a powerful seal, showing no remorse for his actions. Then, before their horrified eyes, Murthafan is transformed into a monster, becoming the king's unwilling puppet. Marie is devastated, realizing that her father is no longer himself, but a vessel being controlled by a greater power. As Murthafan attacks, Riho blocks him to give Marie the chance to confront her father directly. Marie rushes to the royal hall and faces King Azami, determined to free him. She unleashes powerful spells, repelling his dark attacks. At the crucial moment, she prepares to use ancient rune magic to break the control. But the hidden culprit chooses that moment to reveal himself as he strikes Marie brutally, shattering her arm and mocking her weakness. The villain sneers that she will die in the hall, helpless and alone. Marie, on the verge of collapse, regrets that she has not even apologized to Lloyd yet. Tears well in her eyes as she realizes she cannot die with that regret in her heart. At last, the true mastermind steps forward, and Marie learns the terrifying truth. The culprit who has been controlling her father is none other than the demon lord Abaddon. While chaos spreads through the kingdom, Lloyd keeps defeating wave after wave of monsters. To him, they only look like oversized bugs, so he doesn't even realize how dangerous they are. He thinks maybe the real monsters are hiding inside the castle. As he fights, he reminds himself that he wants to help Marie, even if he is aware that his strength may not be enough. Inside the royal hall, after the demon lord finally reveals his true identity, Marie becomes furious, not only because of the danger, but also because he had been hiding in plain sight without exposing himself earlier. Realizing that the situation is beyond her strength, she rushes out of the hall determined to bring Lloyd back, convinced that only he can defeat the demon lord. Meanwhile, Lloyd continues heading toward the castle. On the way, he encounters Alan, who is hiding in fear from the monsters. Alan feels ashamed of himself for being a soldier who cannot even face one monster. Lloyd, however, completely misunderstands the situation. He remembers how he was also scared during his first fight with the demon lord back in his village, so he tries to comfort Alan with cheerful but nonsensical words. At first Alan is confused, but then a monster attacks again, and Lloyd's odd encouragement surprisingly gives him courage.
Point is, monsters are terrifying.
He manages to fight with renewed determination, slowly regaining confidence as a soldier.
Hey! Soldier!
At the same time, Alka learns that a demon lord is involved. Her anger grows because the monsters dared to interrupt her romantic time with Lloyd. Furious, she unleashes her powerful spells and wipes out several enemies instantly. Elsewhere, Riho and Selen struggle against Murthafan, who has turned into a mutated insect. His power is overwhelming, and even though Riho tries her best to stop him, it is not enough. Selen, however, places her faith in Lloyd. She believes that he will arrive in time to save them, so she purposely allows Murthafan to attack her, knowing her cursed belt will protect her. She explains that the belt symbolizes her fate being tied to Lloyd. True to her words, she takes no damage, and at that exact moment, Lloyd finally shows up. Everyone is relieved to see him. Lloyd, still clueless about the real danger, focuses first on Murthafan. He tells Murthafan that a true soldier should always protect peace, and through his kind words, he actually helps Murthafan regain part of his consciousness. Murthafan recalls his old dream, that is to create a world without war, and briefly turns back into himself. However, Lloyd once again misunderstands everything, as he concludes that Murthafan must be drunk, wearing a silly costume, and acting foolishly. Because of this mistaken idea, when Murthafan transforms again into a monster, Lloyd knocks him unconscious, thinking he simply fell asleep. After that, Lloyd hears that Marie is in danger. He rushes off to help, but Marie arrives in the room before he can leave. She is overjoyed to see him, mostly because she wants to apologize for her harsh words earlier. Just then, King Azami appears, still under the demon lord's control. Lloyd, however, mistakes him for yet another drunk man in a strange cosplay. Quick-witted, Marie decides to play along with Lloyd's misunderstanding. She tells him that she has already defeated the monster, and that this so-called cosplayer is only trying to harass her. She then asks Lloyd to use one of his magic tricks to clean the dirt off the king. Innocently, Lloyd takes out an enchanted tissue and wipes the king, not realizing that this simple act purifies him. To everyone's shock, King Azami is freed from the demon lord's influence, and Marie's plan to save him succeeds. After the fight, Lloyd is concerned about Marie's injuries, so he uses his healing powers to restore her strength. Grateful, Marie thanks him, while Selen looks on with jealousy. The next day, the festival begins, and Lloyd is enjoying the lively atmosphere when his older brother Shom suddenly shows up. Shoma is happy to see him and explains that he is helping supply goods for the festival stalls. Just then, Alka appears again, and Lloyd points out that Shoma was right beside him only moments ago, though he seems to have vanished. Elsewhere, Chrome notices that Sholene looks unusually worried about Murthafan. He teases her by asking if she is concerned about her love interest, but quickly regrets the joke when he sees how serious she looks. He then explains that Murthafan has been punished and sent to the outskirts for hard labor in harsh conditions, while he himself is assigned to other duties. Later, Murthafan is seen in Kunlun village, where Alka assigns him to work in the wheat fields. He eventually learns that Alka had once bred fast-growing crops during the time when demon lords attacked the world. This memory stirs up his past, reminding him of the day his village was burned. A few days later, Alka pays Lloyd a visit, once again attempting to cause playful nonsense. Marie intervenes to stop her antics. When asked why she isn't returning to the castle, Marie admits that she prefers her current life and wants to stay close to Lloyd. Soon, Lloyd prepares to enter with his friends waiting. Alka encounters Selen, and the two immediately argue because they both clearly have a crush on Lloyd. During this, Alka notices that Selen holds a legendary artifact from Kunlun village. Before the argument can escalate, Alan appears, interrupting them. Lloyd gratefully thanks Alan, believing he helped him get into the academy by supporting his fight against the monsters. As a reward for Alan's help, Lloyd is finally granted permission to enroll. However, Alka starts causing more chaos, and soon everyone is talking nonsense again. In the end, Marie steps in once more to stop their antics, wishing Lloyd good luck and hoping he will enjoy his new life in the academy. One quiet night, Lloyd looks up at the shining stars above the capital. The air feels peaceful, and Marie softly thanks him for everything he does. Then in a flashback, Chrome finds something unusual while cleaning the streets, a holy sword buried in the ground. Stories say only someone with incredible strength can pull it out, but to everyone's surprise, Lloyd easily pulls it out, thinking he is just doing trash picking. The next morning at the academy, training begins again. During running drills, Lloyd shows unusual stamina as he keeps running without tiring, while the other students collapse from exhaustion. Cholene then gathers everyone and explains that their lessons will now focus on practical magic to prepare for the upcoming inter-school matches with Rokuju Academy. She describes the different branches of magic, then asks the students to try spells on magical dummies. Riho steps forward first and casts a powerful fire spell that impresses everyone. Watching this makes Selen jealous because she wishes to shine in the same way. When Lloyd's turn comes, he tries a simple fire spell, but the result is a massive explosion that almost destroys the practice field. Every spell he uses turns out far stronger than expected. Cholene, shocked and curious, asks him to try wind magic too, but again, the power is overwhelming. Later, Selen says she wants to learn healing magic, though her reasons are mixed with her feelings for Lloyd. Riho explains that healing is the most difficult kind of magic, which even surprises Cholene. Inspired, Lloyd also says he wants to learn healing. To practice, they need someone to act as the injured patient, and poor Alan is chosen. That afternoon, two mercenaries arrive at Marie's home. They are the sisters from Rokuju Academy, Mina and Philo. While asking about Riho's whereabouts, they sense a dangerous aura. Without warning, Philo rushes at the door and attacks. At the door, Lloyd gets badly attacked. Misunderstanding, Lloyd thinks she is just trying to swat a fly, so he apologizes. Then he looks at the photo of Rio, in Hand of Sisters, and politely mentions that he knows Riho. Hearing this, Philo instantly declares him her master, and decides to move in with Marie. Marie, frustrated, throws both sisters out, but she also learns something surprising. Lloyd's body is as hard as steel. Later that day, Alka appears, jealous because Marie spends so much time with Lloyd in Holy Sword Village. To tease her, Alka mischievously transforms Marie into a butterfly, and that night, when Marie returns to her human form, Lloyd accidentally sees her without clothes. Embarrassed, Marie curls up and falls asleep on the floor, while Lloyd goes back to his room in silence. The next day, the headmaster of Rokuju Academy, Roll, arrives and demands to see Riho. Curious, Selen asks about him, and Cholene reveals that the headmaster used to be her classmate. Tension rises when Roll threatens Riho and tells her to give her answer during the match. That evening, Marie notices that Lloyd seems troubled. She assumes it is because he saw her naked the night before, but Lloyd corrects her. He says he is worried about someone else who looks sad. Marie misunderstands and tells him to invite the girl on a date. Inspired, Lloyd declares that he will do exactly that the next morning, and Marie becomes disappointed after finding out that Lloyd is actually worried about Riho, not her. The next day, Lloyd finds Riho and asks her out. They go together to Dunkin' Donuts and sit across from each other. Lloyd admits that he worries about her because she looked depressed. Meanwhile, Selen secretly follows them, trying to eavesdrop. During the date, Riho finally opens up telling Lloyd that she grew up in an orphanage, where Raul once taught her magic. Because her left hand was badly injured, she could not help support the orphanage. Then, one day, Raul returned with a mithril prosthetic arm. At first, Riho believed this gift would allow her to contribute, but later, she learned the truth. Raul only gave her the arm so he could use her life as a sacrifice to draw out the holy sword. Shocked, she ran away, but the prosthetic could not be removed. Moreover, it amplified her magic, chaining her to her past. Lloyd listens with compassion and promises to support her. Just then, Selen suddenly shows up and vows to help Riho take revenge on Roll, and Lloyd resolves to stand by Riho's side in the inter-school match. The next day, Cholene announces that Lloyd will also compete in the match. Philo cheers loudly, thrilled at the idea of living with him again. Suddenly, Makona, a proud second-class student, steps forward and declares she will also join the competition by replacing Lloyd. During her duel, she reveals that Philo uses enchanted items to enhance her magic. But despite this, Makona loses easily. After the fight, Lloyd offers to heal Makona's wounds, but she misinterprets his kindness as arrogance and accuses him of looking down on her. Later, she visits Marie, her idol, and feels overjoyed when Marie serves her black coffee. However, when Lloyd enters the room, Makona's admiration turns into jealousy. From then on, she sees Lloyd as a rival who steals Marie's attention. Soon after, the official announcement of the inter-school match is made. Riho angrily calls Roll a greedy snake. Chrome then reveals the shocking prize of the tournament. It will be cash prize as well as the legendary holy sword itself. Elsewhere, Makona sits alone in the rain, crying badly. Lloyd's brother Shoma approaches and kindly tells her she can share her burden with him. Through trembling lips, Makona admits the truth. Her love has been stolen. Back to Academy, Riho confronts Chrome and demands that he explain about the legendary holy sword. At the same time, Selen tells Cholene about Riho's prosthetic arm and how Riho received it from Roll. Meanwhile, Roll herself decides that she will return to the Academy as a student to participate in the match to get the legendary holy sword, as she plans to use tricks and underhanded tactics to win the inter-school match, so Cholene also tells Lloyd that he will also be competing. Suddenly, Riho asks Cholene to teach her healing magic, determined to grow stronger. Elsewhere, Alka discovers that Marie has prepared a bento lunch for Lloyd in hopes of winning his heart. Furious at what she sees as Marie trying to seduce her precious Lloyd, Alka casts another curse on Marie out of jealousy. Soon the tournament rules are explained. Students are told that they are only allowed to use magic for attacking, with no physical items or outside tools. Roll looks down on Lloyd, convinced he is far too weak to be a threat. The first match begins with Selen stepping into the arena against Philo. Confident in her protective belts, Selen believes they will guard her from any harm, but to her shock, they do not activate against Philo's opening fireball spells. Selen wonders why the belts are not reacting. Suddenly, Philo unleashes an enormous lightning strike that truly threatens Selen's life, and only then do her belts activate, saving her from serious injury. Selen counters by using her belts to bind Philo, but the referee quickly disqualifies her because using her belt as an offensive weapon violates the rules. The next match pits Lloyd against Mina. Mina underestimates him from the start, believing it will be an easy victory. She tries to suffocate Lloyd with water magic, but even after 20 minutes, he calmly insists that he is still alive. Frustrated, she summons a towering wall of water to crush him. Lloyd finally realizes that he cannot keep holding back and casts a wind spell. The result is a massive explosion that shakes the entire arena. Embarrassed, Lloyd apologizes because he thinks he has failed, but everyone else celebrates his overwhelming victory. The final match of the round is between Riho and Roll. Both open with fireball spells, but Choli notices Roll's strategy. She's trying to drain Riho's magic power until she collapses. Roll mocks Riho and orders her to surrender. At that moment, Riho stops attacking, and Roll seizes the chance to remove Riho's mithril arm. Smirking, Roll belittles her, yet Riho surprises everyone by revealing that she has learned to cast healing magic. She embeds a magic stone into her prosthetic arm and unleashes a gigantic explosion that knocks Roll unconscious. With this bold move, Riho wins the final match. Roll, lying on the ground, dreams in disbelief, unable to accept that she has been defeated by Riho. Even in her dreams, she clings to her ambition of seizing the holy sword to make her dreams come true. Later that evening, when she wakes, her assistant informs her that Lloyd currently holds the holy sword. Frustrated but calculating, she orders Philo to capture the person who has been protecting Lloyd. Philo visits Marie's house, where Marie is seen politely apologizing to Alka and even asks her to dissolve the curse. When she excuses herself to the restroom, Philo seizes the opportunity and steals Alka's magic crystal ball, planning to deliver it to Roll. When Lloyd returns home, he finds a letter warning that someone precious to him has been taken hostage. Alan arrives just then, and Lloyd immediately fears that Marie has been kidnapped. Meanwhile, Philo presents Alka's stolen crystal to Roll, but Roll angrily calls her an idiot. At the same time, news spreads that Lloyd is on his way with the holy sword. Philo, eager to fight him, jumps from the window to meet him in combat. She challenges Lloyd to a duel and lands a powerful punch. Excited, she declares that he is a worthy opponent and insists they fight to the death. Lloyd reluctantly accepts and sets one condition. If he wins, Philo must tell him where Marie is. He hands the holy sword to Alan for safekeeping. Despite his doubts, Lloyd recalls how in his village disputes were settled through arm wrestling. He nervously suggests they decide the match this way. While they wrestle, Roll's assistant sneaks up on Alan to steal the holy sword. Alan tries to protect it but struggles. Suddenly, Mina appears, furious at Roll for insulting her beloved sister, and she joins Alan in defending the sword. Back at the duel, Lloyd and Philo begin fighting seriously. Philo thinks she is about to win, but Lloyd unleashes a powerful wind spell and overwhelms her. When he realizes he has won, he panics, thinking he has broken the rules. Instead, Philo smiles and boldly proposes to him, declaring that she wants to be his wife. Lloyd is left speechless, but then Philo reveals that Marie was never kidnapped at all. Moreover, she happily tells Mina that she plans to marry Lloyd. Suddenly, Alka bursts out of the stolen crystal ball, furious that Roll tried to drive a wedge between her and Lloyd. She attacks Roll with a devastating spell, but Alan dives in to rescue Roll from drowning, refusing to let her die. The next morning, Roll awakens, shaken and confused. Meanwhile, a mysterious man named Sue appears, casting a spell on her. She wonders where everything went wrong and remembers her dream of rebuilding the orphanage with Riho. When she opens her eyes again, Riho sits beside her. To Roll's surprise, Riho is not angry, and relief floods her heart. In the shadows, Sue reveals his sinister plan. He has been manipulating Roll to gain the holy sword, and now he intends to unlock the last dungeon itself, even if it means killing Alka. The next scene opens at night in a quiet forest. There, the two mercenary sisters, Makona and Philo, who are investigating a strange case. While searching, they discover a badly injured man lying on the ground. Realizing he has been attacked, they immediately decide to take him to a doctor for treatment. The next scene shifts to the academy, where the students are excitedly discussing how they will spend their long vacation. Riho asks Lloyd about his own plans, but before he can answer, Selen begins crying. She explains that her family has ordered her to return home, and she may not be able to spend any time with Lloyd during the break. Frustrated, she wonders what she should do if her parents keep her locked at home. Her mood darkens, and she even threatens that she might set her house on fire just so she can escape. Hearing this, everyone is shocked, but Selen declares that this may be the best solution. At that moment, Alan enters and proudly announces that he has been invited to a marriage interview. He continues speaking in a pompous manner, clearly enjoying the attention, but Riho and Selen quickly lose patience. They tell Lloyd not to take Alan seriously and leave the scene together. Later, we return to Marie's home, where she and Alka are bickering, as usual. They both complain that they want Lloyd to spend the holiday with them. Lloyd arrives and interrupts their argument, explaining that he will not be staying at home because he has already accepted a part-time job. He reveals the owner of a large and famous hotel has asked for his help. Alka and Marie are surprised, but they think it might not be a bad idea to make a short trip themselves and book rooms at the hotel. When Lloyd worries that their presence might disturb his work, Alka and Marie dramatically faint. The next day, at the hotel, Koba, the owner, senses a powerful aura approaching. He immediately becomes tense, wondering if something dangerous is coming, but then he realizes it is only Lloyd arriving for his part-time job. Lloyd introduces himself politely, and Koba is impressed not only by his aura, but also by his pure-hearted manners. He explains to Lloyd that unusual things have been happening at the hotel. Guests often fall asleep suddenly and remain unconscious, though thankfully no one is seriously harmed. Koba decides to test Lloyd by assigning him to clean a large guest room. A senior employee named Kikyu appears and, with a lazy smile, hands him a broom. She explains the job in detail, expecting him to take hours, but within seconds Lloyd finishes the entire room. He even polishes the ceiling until it shines. Kikyu is stunned and begins to laugh nervously, realizing the boy is far from ordinary. Koba arrives and apologizes for Kikyu's behavior, but he is secretly very pleased. He gives Lloyd a proper hotel uniform and allows him to act as a receptionist. Later, Koba takes Lloyd to meet an important guest, Lord Threonine, a noble with a reputation for being difficult. Koba tries to maintain polite conversation, but Threonine shows little interest. Suddenly, he asks Lloyd what he thinks about the surrounding cypress trees. Lloyd replies that they look beautiful and straight, though perhaps like a bit of a waste. Threonine, who rarely agrees with anyone, surprisingly nods and says he shares the same view. Koba is astonished, realizing that Threonine has actually taken a liking to Lloyd. That night, Threonine speaks privately with Kikyu. She asks why he arrived earlier than planned, and he explains that he suspects foul play. He has heard that the Demon Lord's seedling has been stolen, and he fears the area might soon turn into a Trent dungeon. He also suspects that a local lord's son may be connected to these strange events, which is why he accepted the marriage interview to investigate further. Kikyu listens carefully but grows suspicious. She wonders if Lloyd himself may be controlled by a Trent and decides she must save him. The following day, Lloyd works in the kitchen. Kikyu approaches him and casually talks about the people falling into deep sleep. She then offers him tea, hoping to test him, but Koba interrupts them and angrily scolds Kikyu for wasting time. When he drinks the tea himself, he instantly realizes it tastes unusual. Kikyu realizes Koba now suspects her, so she immediately leaves from there. Koba now convinced that Kikyu and Thionin are responsible for the strange incidents. Meanwhile, Riho arrives at the hotel, excited for her vacation. She asks for a massage and is stunned when she discovers that Lloyd is the one preparing the session. Embarrassed, she imagines he is about to give her a very intimate massage and quickly tells him to call another worker. Before things can get more awkward, loud screams echo from the hotel, forcing both of them to investigate. At the same time, Selin travels with her father by carriage. She complains about her dress and demands to know where they are going. Soon, it becomes clear that her father has deceived her. He has arranged a marriage interview for her with Alan. Furious, Selin declares she wants nothing to do with him, but her father firmly stops her from escaping. During the meeting, Selin's father apologizes for their late arrival, while Lord Threonine greets them. Selin grows restless, thinking about how she can avoid marrying Alan. She clutches a fork and plans to stab him, whispering to herself that God will surely forgive her if she kills him for love. Just as she is about to attack, the door opens, and instead of Alan, Lloyd steps inside, apologizing for being late. Selene is stunned, as she believes God has answered her prayers, and immediately runs to embrace Lloyd. She tells her father and Lord Threonine to leave everything to the young people and drags Lloyd away from the room. Outside, Rio confronts Selene and tells her why Lloyd is here instead of Alan. Alan fainted in the hot spring and could not attend, so Lloyd was asked to take his place. Just then, taking advantage of the moment, Selene seizes the opportunity, insisting that she and Lloyd should go on a date to investigate the strange incidents. Lloyd agrees happily, praising her idea. For Selene, this feels like the perfect chance to spend time with her beloved Lloyd, while Riho watches with suspicion and frustration.
I wish I were a bird.
A few hours later, Lloyd is standing beside Selene near a calm lake. She leans close to him and forces him to compliment her, but Lloyd awkwardly says that she is standing a little too close. Selene quickly replies that if he does not play his part well, they will look suspicious to others. At that moment, Riho suddenly appears and tells Selene to stop spouting nonsense. Meanwhile, Koba begins to suspect Threonine of being the culprit behind the strange incidents, but he is still unsure what exactly the man is plotting. Back at the lake, Riho scolds Selene for forcing Lloyd to say meaningless things. Suddenly, Shoma arrives carrying several boxes, and Lloyd curiously asks why he is there. Shoma cheerfully explains that he is delivering a bunch of explosive magic items. Riho then learns that these dangerous items were ordered by Selene herself. Lloyd proudly introduces Shoma as his older brother, and after a brief conversation, Shoma says goodbye since he has work to finish with the Amazons, leaving Lloyd and Selene alone again. Not wasting time, Selene immediately drags Lloyd away to continue their date. During their time together, she opens up about her past, telling him that she suffered greatly because of the cursed belts wrapped around her body. Yet, instead of regretting it, she admits that the curse led her to meet her hero, and for that reason, she accepts her fate. Lloyd listens quietly and finally tells her that he is not a hero at all because he is weak. Selene refuses to let him belittle himself. She smiles warmly and encourages him, saying that he helps many people, and therefore he should never think so badly about himself. Elsewhere, Kikyu still plans to save Lloyd using her medicine. She sneaks toward him but is caught almost immediately, as Lloyd notices her presence right away. He innocently asks what she is doing there. Kikyu quickly lies and says that she wants to show him a secret massage technique. She applies the oil on his body while she begins searching for the treant parasite, convinced that it hides inside Lloyd's pants. She nervously tries to slip her hand inside, but Selene appears at the worst possible moment and blocks her attempt. Selene attacks Kikyu in a jealous rage, but Kikyu manages to block the strikes and uses a powerful wrestling-style move to knock Selene out cold. However, the cursed belts protect Selene, forcing Kikyu to escape. Taking advantage of the situation, Selene convinces Lloyd to join her at the hot springs. Hours later, she schemes to do something naughty with him, but Riho intervenes to stop her antics. Suddenly, Alka appears, accompanied by Marie. The group grows even larger when the mercenary sisters Mina and Philo arrive. Mina explains that both of them are hired by the Azami Kingdom, while Philo boldly declares that she plans to become Lloyd's future wife. The conversation shifts when Mina warns that a dangerous demon seedling has been stolen. Alka overhears this, and Mina soon realizes that Alka is none other than the chief of Kunlun village, which explains Lloyd's overwhelming power. Motivated to act, Lloyd decides that he must do something to stop the demon seedling. Unfortunately, he suddenly realizes in embarrassment that everyone can see him undressed, causing chaos in the group. At the same time, the secretary of Threonine appears, and Kikyu discovers that he is the man infested with a treant parasite, though she is unsure what is truly going on. The parasite drains all of her energy, but Lloyd soon wanders into the forest, still clueless about the danger. Seeing the parasite-infected secretary, Lloyd innocently assumes the man is dressed in cosplay. The man reveals himself as the Earl King, the demon lord of the trees. Lloyd, however, misunderstands and thinks a costume party is taking place instead of realizing a monster attack is underway. Back in the town, Lord Threonine senses strange disturbances in the forest and begins to suspect Selene's father as the culprit. Meanwhile, Lloyd has already defeated several Trents with ease, leaving Kikyu shocked at his monstrous strength. A loud noise echoes through the area, drawing everyone's attention. Selene's father then reveals that he has been doing business with a young tanned man who claims to represent the Lidocaine family. Just then, Minoki, Threonine's secretary, storms into the hotel, furious, and declaring that he has grown sick of Threonine's arrogant attitude. He prepares to kill them, but Lloyd's friends stand together to protect one another. Mina attacks with a fire spell, but Minoki nullifies her magic. Philo steps in with a powerful kick, yet she senses the enemy is far from defeated. Thinking quickly, Riho orders Alan to throw firebombs at the monster. Together, they weaken it with fire, water, and ice spells, but Manoa still withstands the assault. Selene desperately tries to save her father, who is trapped under rubble, but he tells her to run away. Tearfully, she confesses that she loves someone who always claims to be weak, but never hesitates to help others, and she smiles as she says it. At that very moment, Lloyd arrives and saves Selene and her father, then faces the demon with determination. Realizing it is no cosplay, Lloyd strikes at the core of the monster and defeats it completely. He believes he could not have done it without the support of his friends. Watching from afar, Shoma enjoys the spectacle, while Alka is being captive by him. The following morning, Threonine apologizes to Koba for causing so much trouble. Selene's father also apologizes to his daughter, promising to support her dream of becoming a soldier. Finally, Alka complains that she needs a massage after all the stress. Lloyd innocently replies that Kikyu once taught him a secret massage technique. Mistaking a wrestling finisher for a massage, he accidentally knocks Alka out cold, leaving everyone stunned. In the stillness of night, Makona is taken to an abandoned church by Shoma, where she finally comes face to face with Sue. The man looks at her with curiosity and suddenly asks what he looks like to her. Without hesitation, she replies that he resembles a priest. Sue listens silently, while Makona reveals that someone once stole her love away from her. Consumed by bitterness, she now seeks revenge, and that is how Makona becomes the perfect vessel for Sue's plan. When she declares that she wants to kill Lloyd, Sue hands her a strange medicine that will increase her power. Without a second thought, Makona drinks it, and immediately her body twists and transforms into a monstrous form. Sue grins with delight as a dark and terrifying power begins to flow through her veins. By the following morning, the atmosphere is completely different. Lloyd cheerfully calls out that breakfast is ready. Marie, as usual, tries to get him to feed her by hand, but Selene appears and punishes her for acting spoiled. Lloyd explains that his friends are waiting to pick him up because they plan to head toward the royal castle. Their mission for the day is to explore a dungeon where a giant snake is rumored to dwell. Marie, however, cannot hide her worry for him. At the royal palace, Selene grows excited at the thought of seducing Lloyd inside the dungeon, but her plan is interrupted when Philo declares boldly that she will never allow it, since she intends to become Lloyd's wife. The king himself makes a dramatic appearance, but instead of a regal presence, he greets them with a strange and embarrassing performance that leaves the group confused. Once the formalities end, their plan is explained in detail. Sholin warns everyone that they must not let their guard down inside the dungeon. Meanwhile, Sue shares his progress with his mysterious partner, that is Shoma, and together, they scheme further. Back with Lloyd's party, Alan nervously prepares for the expedition, already terrified by the idea of facing a giant snake. At the same time, Alka forces Marie to guide her toward the dungeon, insisting she knows the fastest route. Lloyd and the others finally enter the dungeon, and Philo teasingly asks Riho if she too has feelings for Lloyd. Cornered, Riho is embarrassed and reluctantly admits her true emotions, but before the teasing can continue, a loud explosion shakes the walls. The culprit turns out to be Alka, who blasts her way through the dungeon simply to take a shortcut. While exploring, Marie stumbles upon a strange room and freezes in shock when she sees a trained parasite lurking there. To her horror, Makona appears, already possessed by the parasite, and declares that she has been waiting to take her revenge. Makona reveals that the one who stole her love is none other than Lloyd. Marie is completely baffled and blurts out that she cannot imagine Lloyd seducing a man. Only then does she realize the truth. Makona was in love with her all along. The parasite twists Makona's mind further, making her desire Marie in unsettling ways. Marie is terrified, convinced that the parasite is driving Makona insane. At that moment, Lloyd arrives and is shocked to find Marie cornered. He firmly tells Makona to stop making Marie uncomfortable, but instead she challenges him to a fight. Lloyd, with his usual honesty, accepts. The battle begins fiercely. Makona rushes at him with monstrous speed, striking with attacks that would kill any ordinary human, yet Lloyd barely flinches. Though she manages to land blows, he feels no pain. In frustration, Makona accuses him of looking down on her when he mentions that he is from Kunlun Village, thinking he must be joking about it, as she believes Kunlun Village only exists in fairy tales. The girls hear the sounds of combat and rush toward the room, arriving just as Makona declares she will use them as bait. Lloyd steps in front of them, shielding his friends, telling Makona that, although he may look weak, his friends give him courage, and they are the most important people in his life. Inspired by this conviction, he withstands Makona's strongest attacks and counters with overwhelming strength. Soon, the dungeon begins to collapse under the force of their battle. In desperation, Makona attempts to kill him with a finishing strike, but Lloyd grabs the parasite's vines and channels his power directly into them. With one decisive move, he defeats her and throws her body out of the dungeon. The danger, however, is far from over. Suddenly, a massive serpent suddenly appears before them. Lloyd is startled, but the creature introduces itself as Vritra, guardian beast of Kunlun. At first, Vritra seems happy to meet Lloyd, but he quickly grows angry when he recalls that Alka once tried to make a holy sword out of his skin. After a while, before the situation can be resolved, Sue arrives. Looking at her, Lloyd senses at once that Sue is dangerous. Alka joins them too, but before she and Lloyd can react, Sue mounts Vritra and weakens the beast's seal. In a shocking moment, Sue kills Vritra and laughs cruelly, convinced that Alka has now lost all her power. Yet his victory is short-lived as Alka confronts him, and Sue is horrified to discover that her power is still intact. Soon it also turns out that Vritra has survived by transferring his soul. Furious, Sue casts a spell to retreat, vowing that he will unseal Vritra and open the path to the last dungeon. Outside, Alan pushes himself forward despite his fear, determined to save his friends. Soldiers nearby mistake his bravery for the cause of the dungeon's collapse, and rumors quickly spread. When the dust settles, everyone believes Alan defeated the giant snake himself. Though he tries to deny it, no one listens, and by evening he is hailed as the legendary Dragon Slayer and promoted to a new rank. That night, Lloyd quietly recalls the name Sue, realizing he once read it in one of his books. Just then, while the girls are getting prepared for a celebration, Alka appears again, and with her usual mischievous smile, she announces her next outrageous plan, that is to kidnap Selene and drag her all the way to Kunlun Village. The next morning, in the kingdom of Azami, the king hears about an upcoming exhibition match between Azami and the neighboring empire of Ju. With great excitement, he declares that Azami will send its legendary warrior to participate. Chrome, puzzled, wonders who the king could possibly mean. The answer soon becomes clear. He will be Alan. Meanwhile, Lloyd and his friends are on their way toward Kunlun Village. Alka guides them, announcing that they will stop by a dwarf settlement first. The girls chatter excitedly about seeing Lloyd's hometown, but Marie quickly scolds them to stop being silly. Chrome then delivers the big news. Alan has been chosen as Azami's representative for the exhibition match. Lloyd is shocked, and Alan pleads desperately for Lloyd to save him, but with his usual innocence, Lloyd simply wishes Alan good luck. Soon, the group arrives at a cavern, a teleportation portal opens, and Yug steps out with dramatic flair. She proudly announces that she is technically a dwarf of royal blood. Suddenly, she notices Vritra bound in Selen's cursed belts. She gets furious and begins to scold the guardian beast for stepping out of the dungeon. Before anyone can argue further, the group is shoved into the portal and transported directly into Kunlun Village. The moment they arrive, the girls sense something strange. Every villager radiates the same overwhelming aura as Lloyd. Selen and Riho are shocked when they see one villager casually toss a boulder onto a mountaintop, which Lloyd explains is simply their way of sending messages. Then they witness the village's main mode of transport, a giant cannon that launches people across the area. The girls stare in disbelief, realizing that the people of Kunlun are just as outrageous as Lloyd himself. Before long, a man appears, and Lloyd happily introduces him as his grandfather. Philo, mistaking the old man for a martial arts master, challenges him to a fight. To her disappointment, she discovers that his pirate style is nothing more than an exercise routine for fitness and good health. Afterwards, he asks for help carrying a heavy load. Riho volunteers, only to regret it deeply when she ends up hauling crates all the way to Alka's mansion. Meanwhile, Cholene and Chrome looking for Murthafan and find him working half-naked in a wheat field, proudly wearing an embarrassing outfit. Cholene blushes furiously, struck by her growing crush, but when he remains oblivious, she lashes out and beats him up. Murthafan, dazed, has no idea what he did wrong. Later, he explains that he no longer plans to return to Azami, choosing instead to stay in Kunlun to care for the wheat fields. Cholene gets heartbroken, but keeps her feelings to herself. Back at the mansion, Celine boldly introduces herself to Lloyd's family, intending to ask for their blessing to marry him. Her plan is interrupted when a dragon suddenly appears in the yard. Riho goes to investigate, panics, and runs away, but Lloyd's cousins rescue her with ease by using paper airplanes. Soon Selene comes there and discovers that her carefully prepared marriage registration forms have been folded into paper airplanes by mischievous relatives. That evening, the villagers host a grand feast. Alka raises a toast, thanking everyone for gathering to celebrate her marriage to Lloyd. His grandfather laughs, assuming it's just one of Alka's jokes, and instead toasts Lloyd's homecoming. During dinner, they also learn that Murthafan has taken on monstrous abilities, shocking the group once more. Afterward, Riho eagerly volunteers to clean up, secretly planning to sell the leftovers, since the dishes are made from rare monsters. Later, Lloyd's relatives corner him and demand to know which girl he likes. One of them even recommends Riho as her choice, while Lloyd's grandfather votes in favor of Philo, who blushes with pride. Selene fumes in jealousy, feeling left out of the conversation. As the night winds down, Yug suggests creating a new body for Vritra, though the guardian beast strongly dislikes the idea. After that, we see Yug sitting with Alka, asking about Sue's plans, and he explains that Vritra has nearly regained his lost memories. Alka asks to wait just a little longer. Meanwhile, in the girls' room, Riho tries to sleep, but the others pester her with jealousy after discovering her pajamas are made from an expensive silk. Selene becomes especially upset, convinced Riho is the family favorite. Petty as ever, Riho decides to strip and sell the pajamas, only for Lloyd to walk in by accident. The girls scramble to stop him, panicking that he might fall in love with Riho. Elsewhere, Murthafan apologizes to Marie for past mistakes. To his relief, she is not angry, having already guessed that Alka has punished him enough. Murthafan then recounts a strange encounter with a traveling merchant who gave him a mysterious egg. Marie grows serious. She suspects an evil organization is involved, and admits she has a nagging feeling that she has met the merchant somewhere before. The next morning begins with the group moving together, and Alka wonders aloud why they are leaving so early. Vritra explains that they are heading toward the last dungeon because his physical body must return soon. If he stays here too long, he will disappear, and the seal of the last dungeon will eventually break. After traveling for a while, Yug finally announces that they have arrived. For the first time, all of them stand before the sealed last dungeon, staring in awe at the place that has been hidden for so long. At first, everyone comments that it does not look frightening at all, and they even laugh at how ordinary it appears, but Alka interrupts and tells them that they are wrong. The dungeon is not a simple barrier, it is a prison. Although it looks harmless, that is only because of an illusion created by the ancient dwarves in order to hide its true nature. In reality, it was built to keep the dangerous demon lords trapped within forever. Yuge explains that the seal can be opened only by using a key, and once it is opened, all the demon lords will spread across the entire world. Riho asks what kind of key it is, and Yuge responds that it is called the Holy Sword. They wonder who took out the Holy Sword and why. When they ask where the sword is now, Chrome tells them that Holy Sword is in the castle. Later, Yug asks for permission to borrow Vritra because she wants to revive him. Henshi begins her plan by taking a large piece of meat and wrapping Vritra with it. She fries it in a pan, pours sauce over it, and covers it in a big bowl. When the others question her, she explains that this is just the recipe stage and the real ritual is about to start, so they must wait. For 3 hours, the food is left to cook, and after this time, blue smoke rises from it. They realize that the revival ritual has working, and Vritra has transformed into an egg. Moreover, Yug says that for a short Alka's powers will become similar to the powers of a little girl. Meanwhile, in a loiter moment, others tease Alka, which annoys her. Alka warns them that she will deal with them later, but the others continue to laugh. Seeing this, Marie thinks it is a good chance to tease Alka as well, but when she sees Alka's frightening face, she immediately becomes nervous and backs away. Soon after, Lloyd says that as everything is finished, he must join the competition to cheer Alan. Just then, Yug suddenly leans close to Alka and whispers that she wants to speak privately. The two of them slip away into the forest, and Alka grows suspicious, asking Yug to finish her words quickly. Then, without warning, Yug steps on something hidden in the ground, and a pit opens beneath Alka. She falls hard, injuring herself badly, and gasps in pain. Shocked, Alka demands to know why Yug would do this. Yug calmly declares that this is a declaration of war, as she plans to break the last dungeon's seal and release its power into the world. She admits that she once pretended to revive Vritra, but instead sealed him, and now she intends to rebuild the world in her own vision. Yugi assures Alka not to worry because her plan is perfect, and she already has 2 powerful heroes on her side. Alka's eyes widen, and she realizes Yug must be speaking of Sue and Shoma. Meanwhile, the rest of the group gathers near the dungeon's gate. Yug pretends nothing is wrong and claims Alka left to collect weapons. Marie grows suspicious, saying that it is strange for Alka to vanish without warning. Just as tension builds, Yug urges everyone to hurry home through the portal. Some hesitate, but Yug insists she will wait for Lloyd and the others, encouraging them to leave first. A little later, Lloyd finally appears, apologizing for being late, then Yug asks if he has seen Alka. Lloyd grows uneasy, worrying she might have fallen somewhere and decides to search for her. Meanwhile, the others reach the sacred interior through the gate, and they are surprised to see Murthafan waiting there. He says he only came to deliver vegetables and plans to leave right after. At that moment, Yug announces that she has closed the gate. In the evening, Yug looks satisfied, saying everything is happening according to her plan. The scene then shifts again to Mina and Riho meeting Roll, asking her if she remembers who told her to steal the holy sword. Rue says she does not remember clearly, but it was some old man. She also recalls a small girl and describes it as though someone holding her candy. Riho listens carefully and mutters that something feels wrong about this. Back in another corner, Riho approaches the king and says she needs to discuss something important, asking if the competition can be cancelled. She insists this must be considered seriously. Meanwhile, Alka is still trapped in the pit, but Lloyd finally finds her. She becomes happy to see him and asks how he managed to find her. Lloyd says that few people come to this place, so he thought she might have fallen into a hole. He noticed a large stone nearby which made him suspicious, so he moved it and discovered her. At that moment, Lloyd recalls his childhood, when he himself once fell into a deep hole. That experience made him decide to become strong, so that whenever anyone needs help, he will always be able to assist them. Now, even though he still thinks of himself as weak, he is determined to keep helping his friends. Meanwhile, Yug is seen with Sue and Shoma commenting that everything has gone too easily and that even the gate was destroyed without much effort. She believes all her wishes will be fulfilled tomorrow. At the same time, Lloyd and Alka hear news that the path to the king's palace has collapsed. Alka suspects this must be Yuji's doing, and Lloyd gets worried about his promise Tohi made to Alan. Still, Alka says they must hurry. So, Alka comes up with a daring strategy. She suggests firing Lloyd out of a huge cannon straight toward Azami. Lloyd, wanting to make it even faster, decides to boost his speed with wind magic. The next morning, the exhibition match begins, and Alan is forced to face Makona in the arena, but she shows no mercy. Her relentless attacks leave even the king disturbed, and he questions Sue about the purpose of this match. Sue calmly reveals that the duel is not mere entertainment. Instead, it is a display of new technology that can turn ordinary humans into living weapons by combining their strength with that of monsters. He claims this is his way of forming an alliance between two kingdoms so they can one day rule the world together. Chrome and Mina try to oppose the plan, but Shoma crushes their spirit with his overwhelming aura. At last, the king understands the danger of Sue's ambition and rejects his proposal outright. But Sue has already prepared another option. His next scheme involves Yuge, who secretly plots to open the last dungeon and trap both Alka and Lloyd. The girls manage to confront her, determined to foil her plan even though they know she is far stronger. Yuge summons swarms of insect monsters, but the girls had already guessed she might try something like this. They cleverly replace the audience with soldiers and adventurers, turning the arena into a chaotic clash between humans and beasts. Meanwhile, Murthafan suddenly appears before the kings and challenges Shoma directly. He recalls that Shoma left Kunlun village long ago because he claimed to dislike rural life. Murthafan insists that there is great value in the countryside and tries to persuade him to return. Armed with two god-tier tools shaped like farming weapons, Murthafan stands against him. But Shoma reveals his true feelings. He was not bored of the village, but of the entire world itself. He declares that he wants to build a world where Lloyd can become a soldier and live his dream, even if that requires conflict. With that, Shoma demonstrates his strength by knocking out Murthafan with a single blow. Elsewhere, Riho and Marie are struggling against Makona's creatures when Philo dives in and defeats them with ease. Sue seizes this chance to capture Chrome and Mina, demanding that the king show him the holy sword. Suddenly, Alan intervenes and slices off Sue's arm, but he is horrified when it regenerates instantly. Sue then reveals the truth about himself. He was once the result of an ancient rune experiment created to serve as a hero. He was supposed to disappear after the world was saved, yet he remained, slowly losing his stability until people began to see him differently. His only desire now is to fade away, but before that he intends to defeat Alka, turn himself into the villain, and force Lloyd to rise as the new hero. At this moment, Lloyd enters, unaware of the situation. Alka had twisted the details to keep him in the dark. Yug takes the opportunity to reveal her real goal. She plans to release the demon lords. Lloyd refuses to believe her and focuses only on breaking the egg that holds Vritra. He throws a rock to snatch it, but Yug holds on tightly and summons a massive stone golem merged with Makona. Marie begs Lloyd to save Makona, and he agrees to help. He smashes parts of the golem, but every time he destroys it, the body regenerates. Marie realizes that Makona herself is the source of its regeneration. They must separate her from the creature to end the fight. Lloyd hesitates, afraid of harming her, and the golem slams him down again and again. For a moment he feels too weak to win. Then Murthafan reappears and encourages him not to abandon his dream so easily. Inspired, Lloyd gets back up and Rio notices that Makona responds to Marie's voice, and in desperation, she offers Marie's treasured underwear as a charm. Strangely enough, it works, and Makona breaks free of the golem's control. Seizing the chance, Selene swoops in and snatches the egg from Yug. When nothing happens, she makes a bizarre threat that she will retell every detail of Lloyd's adventures unless the dragon responds. Shockingly, the plan works, and Vritra finally awakens. Meanwhile, Lloyd regains his resolve and destroys the weakened golem with his wind magic. Yuge, realizing she cannot win, calls for backup, but her allies refuse, too busy filming themselves fighting insects. Their only goal is to turn Lloyd into a hero. At that moment, Alka arrives and crushes the remaining monsters with a storm of falling boulders. Just before she captures Yug, Shoma appears and rescues her, with Sue close behind. They retreat, vowing to return another day. Peace returns. Murthafan goes back to his village, and the group gathers at Marie's home. The girls fall back into their usual playful bickering about Lloyd, but everything ends on a warm note as they all sit down to enjoy a meal he has cooked himself.